I went to three different elementary schools. I was a very kalohe, naughty kid. I got in trouble almost every day. I was very good friends with the counselors and the principal. Um, but it wasn't until high school that I actually had a wonderful teacher, a marine biology teacher, Mrs. Nakasuji, who inspired me to uh, go into marine biology because I would excel in her class, and I understood concepts that she would take time to explain to kids. And she'd ask how I would know, and I said, "Well, I spent my life at the ocean. You know, I knew when different types of fish were going to be in, when they can be caught during the year, when they can't be caught during the year. And those are the same things I noticed till today. I will drive around and look to see what fishermen are fishing for, how they're fishing, what types of fish they're bringing up, because that can indicate not only what fish are in, but in some cases, the health of the environment. Dr. Richmond is a really good inspiration for me, and he's worked with a lot of cultural practitioners. And he'll tell you that he worked with some folks who go, if you can't hear the reef may not be alive. Um, and so it was a good important for our kupuna to teach us our lessons that you have one mouth, you have two eyes and two ears. You better look twice as much and listen twice as much than you speak. Um, let's see. I went into marine biology at Manoa as my bachelor's. I took me 5 years to get my marine biology degree. During that time, there was a lot of conflict. Um, you know, some scientists or some, like for example, chemistry professor told me, "Hey, you're not doing well in my class. You shouldn't be here. This is not where you belong. Maybe you should change your major." Or even for some, taking some Hawaiian language and Hawaiian study classes, having some of the professors tell you, why are you going to go into science for? We need you here. We need you here supporting your people. And, at the beginning, I didn't know how to answer those kinds of questions. But after a while of being and working with the folks from both disciplines, the Hawaiian culture as well as science, I said, this is the right place for me. My people were scientists. They just never had that title. They just had a different set of terminology that still exists in the science culture, but described differently. They were important. This is because not too many people at the time were making that step towards marine biology. This is where I can make the greatest impact for myself, for my people, and my grandkids. Um, I had a wonderful PhD advisor, Paul Jokiel, as well as Dr. Ku'ule Rogers, and a great committee that supported me to doing work on the island of Hawaii in Kahului Bay in Kona. I was able to look at how the biological resources drove what the environment was going to look like, what fish were going to be found where, how the benthic environment, so the corals or the sand, indicated what fish species are going to be found in a certain area. But the most important thing about my PhD was being able to um, use traditional knowledge that existed in the area. So interview and work with some of the kupuna in the area to know, hey, how has the land changed in the past 50 years? Why did it change? It's not that their knowledge was wrong. It's that something must have changed in the environment. And so being able to bridge that Western science with cultural knowledge to provide a holistic approach or well-rounded approach to resource management for approaching science. Um, from then on, I got a job with Hanama Bay, and I eventually rose to become the acting director of Hanama Bay. So I was in charge of all the facilities and services at Hanama Bay. I One of the coolest things about working at Hanama Bay was that I got to view the bay on a Tuesday when nobody was practically there. Could see how actually for one day you could see how the resources changed in terms of the fish would come in closer. On Tuesdays, you'd have dolphins coming into the bay. Um, One of the coolest things that I ever got to do was actually to host President Obama and his family and to give them kind of a private tour of the beach when they came to visit, um, and being able to share messages of conservation and resource management to him and be able to be thanked by him. Hey, it may not have influenced anything, but it was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to share our messages of our people with the president of former president of the free world. I then was stolen away from the Navy. Um, Basically, I think like some folks have heard about the work that I've done at Kahaluu Bay as part of my dissertation, the work I've done at Hanama Bay, and they wanted me to come and work for them. What I do for the Navy is basically I uh, generate and I do any other consultation. So anytime we do in water work, above water work, we have to get develop best management practices and compensate for any of losses in marine life that we have to do while we're doing these kinds of um, projects like repairing piers, as well as we have to get an Army Corps permit. Um, Basically, in about a year or two, I had shrunk down their consultation time from well over 200 days down to now 30 days. So we're able to change the way how they do work while working specifically with the regulators of those trust resources to do what's best for the resources in uh, Pearl Harbor. You would be surprised the length at which the Navy actually tries to protect these resources. Invest money in surveys, invest money in protecting the nearshore resources, terrestrial resources, as well as um, biological resources in the water. Uh, I think someone had a question earlier uh, that mentioned, hey, what is one of the coolest things I got to see or coolest animals I got to observe in Pearl Harbor? One of them was seeing a mother and its calf uh, come in, a whale come in and kind of cruise around in Pearl Harbor in really shallow water, about 40 feet, and just kind of play on the inside. Um, those were kinds of the coolest things. But this journey that I've had been from being a really naughty kid, getting in trouble, to becoming PhD, and now starting to expand in my growth as I go in my career, had a lot of different uh, pitfalls, had a lot of different challenges that I want you guys to know and be aware about. And that is, I want you guys to be mindful that you guys need to have a growth mindset. So every day you need to be a lifelong learner, is what they call it. You want to embrace the challenges as the opportunities and not think of them as being things that are going to block you from getting anywhere. You want to be in acknowledgement of your weaknesses. Um, Dr. Richmond will tell you that a lot of Pacific Islanders have a hard time speaking well about themselves. It is something I need to practice consistently, something that I need to work on when I do my resumes. So being able to speak well of the things that you do, not that you can't be humble, but you also need to speak well of the things that you can do and will be able to do in the future.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I think you froze for a little bit. Can
Oh,
can we hear him? Okay. Sorry,
okay.
Dr. Kaipo. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, no, no,
No,
sorry. I think my for some reason my internet this week has been going through a lot of
we're back
things,
on.
but
We're back on.
yeah, I mean, okay, great, great, guys. So again, if you didn't hear me, don't fear failure. Embrace it. Think about how you didn't meet the failure and how you can move on from there. May makauwi ka hana, makauwi ka moloa. Don't fear laziness. Don't fear work. Fear laziness. Um, I never thought I'd be here without folks like Dr. Richmond. Um, you know, Even hearing stories about Alexi and Juan, while you guys were talking, yes, I shouldn't have been distracted, but I had to. Looking at the rates of people graduating from the Pacific Islanders, it's like 0.4% of the graduates at University of Hawaii are Hawaiian. 0.2%, I mean, are undergraduates. 0.2% are Hawaiian. We are a small population, whether we be Pacific Islanders or other smaller groups of or ethnic people. but we can make a world of difference because our people have a lot of place-based knowledge about where we live. Um, and remember, just be a good person. Trust and believe in the ideals and stand by your ideals that you live in. And at the end of the day, do it for your grandkids, because that's what we want this world to be. Um, but yeah, that's all I got to share. I'm sorry if you guys missed me just freezing. I promise I wasn't just holding my face like this. So
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaipo. I don't think we missed anything. That was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Now, nearing the end, let's open up the floor for some questions that our Hamana had for our speakers. Can you, Matt, share my screen?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, try now.
Okay. Let's see. Can you guys see that?
There we go.
How about now?
There we go. Now we go.
All right. Okay, so let's start off with the questions. Naomi had a question, and I don't think Naomi's with us today, unfortunately, but I'll go ahead and ask those questions for her. This is for Dr. Richmond and Alexi. Did any of the sharks
Josh?
try to bite you?
Josh,
Yes.
sorry. Since Naomi's not here, we were hoping Cadence could she's here on
Oh.
behalf of her. Yeah.
Hi, Cadence.
Hi. So, the question is, did any of the sharks try to bite you?
Yes. So I'll let Lexi have the other two. I'll take the first one. I did my doctoral research on Eniwetok Atoll. So it's a small atoll in the middle of the Pacific in the Marshall Islands. And I'm a chicken. I should be careful because Dr. Juan, I'm not a bird, I'm a mammal, but I'm a chicken. And so one of those people who, when I grew up, if you saw a shark in a movie or on TV, it was because it was eating people. And so I had a fear of sharks. That was one of the things I was always concerned about. And the first dive I had on Eniwetok, we had about 65 sharks swimming around us within about 2 minutes of getting in the water. And so I buried myself so deeply under a large coral head. My feeling was that shark is going to have to eat a lot of coral to get to me. But during the course of the dive, the sharks were around us all the time. They didn't care. They were just checking things out. But there's one kind of shark there called the gray reef. We have that actually in Hawaii as well. And they can be aggressive. They're like dogs. They have a behavior. What they do is they arch their back, they drop their pectoral fins, they wag their head. It's very clear when they're not happy with you being there. They let you know by doing this display. Two of my colleagues who were at Eniwetok both got bitten by gray reef sharks who they were displaying to them the same way. And so it just goes to show that on most dives, every dive there, couple hundred dives, we always saw sharks. And rarely did they give us a hard time. Some days, if we came down to about 90 feet, they would draw a line and say 90 feet is okay, but 91 is not. And if we went a little bit deeper than 90 feet, they'd come over and start displaying. And if you came up, they would stop. One day I was diving in one of my primary reef sites, and a large remora, it's a fish that hangs onto sharks, came up and tried to attach to me. And I got very worried because it was a really big remora, so I knew whoever it belonged to had to be big as well. And it was a 12 to 14 foot tiger shark that came up off the bottom and swam straight towards me. And we actually, in Eniwetok, we carried what are called power heads. It's a metal rod that has a bullet at the end of it, that if a shark gets too close, you can use it. That shark was so big and I was in midwater, I didn't even bother. I just said, if it wants me, I'm lunch. And I had no interest other than check me out and see how it's going. Came out, swam around a couple times, and was gone. But I used to spearfish a couple evenings a week after work. I would get a float. I never put fish on a string around my belt because it would attract the sharks. And so it was a little 4 foot gray reef shark that came out of nowhere and started displaying. And I'm thinking, this is not your territory. I've been fishing this area for like a year and a half. And it immediately broke and swam right at me and tried to bite me. I had my 3-pronged spear and I had to push it away. It came back again. It backed me all the way up onto the beach and all the way back up. And so to me, I mean, it's like dogs. You know, you can run into Dobermans and Rottweilers and big dogs, and they usually they don't care. And you come across a Chihuahua. Those are the ones you got to watch out for. Those are the ones with the attitude. So size is not an indication of worrying with sharks. So this 14-foot tiger that could have taken me really easily had no interest in me other than what is this thing? Okay, that's cool, I'm gone. And then this little 4-foot gray reef shark, skinny, with an attitude, was the one that tried to bite me, and it really tried to bite me. And it took me a couple of days to get in the water after that one. But size is not an indication of issue. It's again like dogs and Chihuahuas. Maybe Dr. Juan can explain that. But yeah, so let me turn over the other two questions to Lexi, who knows all about corals and can tell you what she thinks.
Thank you. So the next question is, do you take coral from the beach?
So whenever we do experiments, we do coral collections, and no, we don't really take them from the beach, but we do have sites where we think that we can get a specific species, and we have to do everything under permits, and we always make sure that we don't take too much. But usually Kewalo has a nice boat that we get to take out when we go collecting. So we'll go and we'll snorkel and we'll bring up the corals and we'll put them into coolers and bring them back to lab. But yeah, we go further out from the beach whenever we collect.
Okay, and the last question is the coral alive?
Yes, so corals are really interesting organisms. You could say that they're both a plant, animal, and a rock. And the animal portion of that is the coral polyps. So if you are able to look really closely at corals, you'll see these mini looking anemones that have a symbiotic relationship with algae, which is the plant component. And then they secrete a skeleton, which makes up their big reef structure. So it is a living organism that reproduces and is responsible for creating these whole ecosystems that a lot of island people rely on. So they're really, really great organisms.
And if I may, I just want to answer one other question that I think is really important. Dr. Kaipo said it very eloquently, and I think Lexi is a really good example. I've been teaching at universities for over 35 years, and I can tell you that the students like Dr. Kaipo and Lexi, Pacific Island and Native Hawaiian students, I would match against any student anywhere in the world. Harvard, Yale, students there have nothing on the students that we get in Hawaii and Guam and places like that from the Pacific Islands. And I think what Dr. Kaipo showed is that, you know, if you have the desire to succeed, you can and you will. It's hard work. It's not something you can say it's easy, but nothing in life that's really worth it should be valued just because it's easy rather than hard. But Kaipo and Lexi are two really good examples to show that you have the ability to do it. And I would say the students that I've had to work with, I've had over 75 Native Hawaiian and Pacific Island students in my labs over the year. I would match any one of you against any student anywhere in the world. And again, what I really enjoy and shows me it's motivation, desire, and passion for the work that puts Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders above any student I've ever worked with from Harvard and Yale. And I've worked with some of them as well.
So I have a question for Dr. Juan. So I wanted to be a veterinarian before I thought about being a flight attendant. And the reason for me wanting to be a veterinarian is because I loved animals, but I was afraid of snakes and stuff. So I was wondering, were you ever afraid of working with any animal?
Yes, that actually kind of ties in with what Dr. Richmond said. I am afraid of Chihuahuas. I rather work with a horse that is angry than a Chihuahua. And I've never worked on a snake. I have pet them, but that's the extent of what I've done with them. I work with birds, but I'm actually afraid of parrots. So I don't work with parrots because we don't have any native Hawaiian parrots, but I'm afraid of getting bitten. So little things, cats, chihuahuas, parrots, biting my hands, that just scares me. So I rather work with bigger animals. And thankfully the birds don't, except for wedge-tailed shearwaters, they got that tiny little hook at the end of their beak. They can really hurt you, but otherwise most of the birds we deal with don't bite that hard. So, but yes, I am afraid. So
Thank you.
thank you too.
Liala, did we have more students that wanted to ask questions?
It's just Cadence for today. Karen and Naomi were able to.
Okay, Cadence, you wanna ask Dr. Juan more questions for us?
Maybe you can scroll down to Dr. Juan's question. Oh, there they are.
Sorry,
What is
Josh,
a-
could you just like zoom it in a little bit? If that's
Sure.
okay. Thank you.
Can you see that, Cadence?
Yeah.
All right. You're welcome.
What is a pueo?
I actually have a picture of one here. So I said that yesterday we got a pueo that has a broken wing. You can see his bandage. It is our native Hawaiian owl. It is the English name is short-eared owl. Pueo, it's a Hawaiian name. We have them on the Big Island, in Maui, and then there's a few of them in Oahu. They're endangered in Oahu, but they're our native Hawaiian owl.
Are bird brains small or big?
So just by their size, bird brains are small just because they're small. But if you actually look at the ratio, even us, which we have a big brain, maybe our brain, I don't have the exact figure, but let's say our brain is maybe like 10 pounds. And so in an average human, that's maybe 1 to 20 of the body weight, or maybe 1 to 40. If you look at if let's say maybe 10 pounds for like a 200-pound person, and if you look at a bird, its brain might be like 1 gram out of 10 grams. So relatively their brains are way bigger than mammals. And even if you compare like a mouse brain to a bird that's about the same size as the mouse, their brain is a lot bigger. And that allows them to solve problems that you otherwise think that they wouldn't. If you look at some crow videos online, you can see them solving puzzles. They can use tools to try to get food, and they'll remember if you do something mean to a crow, or they think that you did something mean, they will remember you a long time afterwards and come after you. So they're very smart, even though their brains are technically small.
Okay, and the last question is, how do birds eat and digest their food if they don't chew?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it depends on the type of bird. You got some that like pigeons and chickens that will eat little bits of gravel, and that's so that in their stomach they can grind the food. It's sort of like like a grinder. So that's how they get away with that. Other birds like owls, pueo, io, the Hawaiian hawk, and seabirds don't really have things to break it down. So it's just all digestive acid from their stomach, and it makes it into a liquid, and that's how they digest it.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for the
Dr. Juan.
Dr. Kaiko, what is the craziest animal you've seen in the hybrid?
I think one of the craziest animals I seen, I think I mentioned earlier, was a mom and a calf in Pearl Harbor in shallow water. The other would be I was doing a survey at Dry Dock 4, and I was walking down the staircase that kind of the ladder that actually goes a little bit into the water, and I kept looking around to see if there was any coral in the area because they were going to do some kind of work there. Um, and the next thing I knew, I seen this black shadow just shoot up to the bottom of this ladder. And it was actually a huge, probably close to 5, 6 foot ulua that came over, or big trevally that came up right from the depths, right to my feet and just sat like a dog, basically. So my guess is that somebody must feed him from time to time. He just kind of sits there at the bottom of the stairs. So that would be the craziest thing, I think.
Okay, and can you tell us more about the local IA being restored at Pearl Harbor?
Yep. So I guess we can go with the real negative first. Is that Pearl Harbor used to be among the most uh, extensive network of fish ponds in the state. The amount of fish ponds that existed in Pearl Harbor were great. I mean, there are traditional maps that show multiple fish ponds in there, and through urban development, through the military taking over Pearl Harbor, um, a lot of those fish ponds went away. But in our effort to make amends and to kind of try to work with the host culture, even the people of that place, the Pu'uloa, to restore what we call local pa'iao, um, and trying to restore the wall there. It's taken a lot of time. I think they noted it back in early archaeological surveys, but they really didn't really start anything back until 2015. When they started to clear away the mangrove, and they started to see a lot of the rocks that were used for this fish pond. Um, they also started to rebuild a little bit of the wall. And the pod that wall is coming up. They've used, dry stacking. Most recently, we had Uncle Francis Senensi come out and build a hale for us there. Um, I think the hale is called Hale Onakoa. So basically the house of the warriors, and that's to honor the traditional warriors of the place, but also the warriors because he's the veteran himself. And so it was built using traditional methods. Um, Seeing it all come over there and seeing them start to rebuild this uh, truly important cultural uh, site, this local you can see the springs come up, you can see the endangered species come back, the stilts, the alai ula, um, other things just coming back into the area. So if it is a lesson for the Navy or a lesson for myself, it's that, as we restore our cultural sites and we restore our cultural knowledge, we also restore the environment. So "Heli kaina he kaua he kalaka." The land is chief and the people are its servants. If we take care of the land can forever take care of us. At the end of the day, I tell some people who really fight me at the Joint Base about different kinds of environmental BMPs that I want to implement as part of our construction, that if you really think about what we're fighting our wars for, it's usually over natural resources, you know, access to land, access to food, access to water, access to trading routes, to trade any of those things. So why not protect what we have here at home, our natural resources, so that we can fight the good fight? So thanks.
Cadence, good job. Thank you for your
Thank
questions.
you.
Thank you very much.
One more question for Dr. Juan. So since you are afraid of some animals, how have you overcome some of the fears?
I don't know. I don't have like a specific like I found something that works. It's just more like, you know, breathing in and going for it. And I don't know, maybe believing in yourself and telling yourself that it's gonna be okay. You know, you'll be fine. Because I mean, even you know, I prefer working with horses than a little dog. But there's some horses that can be pretty mean, and they can hurt you. And you, as you know, as someone who is teaching others, like I had students in Oregon State, you are put in the position where you are the adult and you have to have control of the situation. So, you know, you got to put your face that, okay, I got this, but man, if you feel my heart, it's going. And if you look at my hands, you know, they're shaking. But so yeah, so no, I mean, we all get scared, even if we've been doing what we've been doing for a long time. And it's just believing in yourself, practicing so that you know that, okay, I know what to do. I know what safety steps to take. You know, if you're in a profession where you have to deal with emergencies, you practice and you drill that checklist in your mind that, okay, if something goes wrong, if you're flying an airplane, you know what to do when your engine goes out, and you know, that will help you get through those moments of fear. But it's not wrong to be fearful, you know, and to feel afraid. It's just being prepared to deal with it and believing in yourself, I guess.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Very good job, Cadence. Thank you for your help today. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. As we end today's career fair, I would like to again thank everyone for your attendance and participation in today's STEM career fair. And thank all of our education specialists for being here. Thank you guys very much. To our Hamana takeaway today, just to recap what all of our panelists had shared with all of you today: believe in yourself. Regardless of your situation and ethnicity, strive for a better future, and believe in yourself. You can do it. Don't be afraid to take that leap of faith, like Dr. Juan mentioned. Never stray from your passion, whether it may be, make an impact. And for Dr. Kaipo, be mindful and embrace challenges as opportunities. Don't fear work, fear laziness. All great messages today. Thank you guys very much. This has been such a pleasure to have all of you participate in today's STEM career fair. And if there is any questions, Leala, from you or from Richard, before we close.
No questions, but thank you to everybody. Definitely appreciate it. But just Cadence and Leala, let's stay on for a little bit so we can kind of organize ourselves for Monday. But mahalo and thank you to all of you. And Lexi, thank you for allowing us to come. Like I said before, just hearing your story again. It's why we bring kids to Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology. It's an amazing place, and hopefully I'll get to meet all the rest of you in person, and possibly bring a group to your site the way we have in the past with Lexi. It is impactful. So thanks everybody, and just Leala and Cadence stay on for a quick sec after.
Thank you, Richard. All right, everyone. Happy Aloha Friday. Have a good weekend. Please be safe. And thank you very much.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Yeah, I made you host again.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, good job, Cadence. Enjoy the rest of your time with them.
Hey, Matt, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Mel. Shoots.
Bye.
Cadence, I got to say, you read those questions pretty darn good. Yeah?
Thank you.
It was pretty good reading. So shoots, 11 o'clock, right about our stop time. We'll see, hopefully you and Karen and Naomi on Monday. we'll try to like catch up and build more of our rock wall and our Makaha or sluice gate. Yeah, have a super awesome weekend, Leala and Cadence, and see you on Monday at 9. Leala?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Richard. And thank you, Cadence. Thank you for a question. Wow, I never knew that you wanted to be just like Dr. Juan as well. And the fact that you also want to be a flight attendant as well. I was like, ooh, that was a dream of mine at first, but then didn't really go as planned. But you know, plans always change. But yeah, I'm glad you got to hear from Dr. Juan as well and got to answer the questions that you had in mind about being a veterinarian. And I hope that one day you'll actually become one. So yeah. And I guess I'll see you and the other girls on Monday. You have a great Friday. Have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Bye.